I didn't want to go into all that, but I would have done if I'd had hindsight. But these are just what you have to remember. This is what I wrote at the time. They're imperfect, they're rushed to judgment, they're intemperate, they're inconstant, but they are what I wrote and what I felt at the time. And the first one I'm going to read you is from Wednesday, May the 13th in Torquay. We'd gone there to do Monty Python filming for, I think, the first series. And we stayed in a hotel called Glen Eagles, where the man who ran it was so rude. You know, this sort of guy you'd say in the morning, could we have an early morning call? Early morning? How early? Quarter to seven. Quarter to seven! Quarter to seven! Completely aloof. I remember we sat at the table and we finished our meal, and Terry Gilliam was as usual talking while he was eating and all that. And the man just came in, leant across the table, put the cutlery together and said, "In England, we leave our cutlery like that." We just couldn't bear it. So Terry, myself, and Graham left. John stayed on, of course, immortalised the man in Fawlty Towers. Anyway, the next day, it was very funny because Graham, myself, and Terry went round to a hotel called the Osborne. It was slightly upmarket from where we were. And we went in and sort of stood a long time at reception. And someone looked up and said, "Yes?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "You come about the vacancy?" "What? In the kitchen?" No, we come. We moved that one and we went in the end to a place called the Imperial Hotel, which is very expensive. We thought that would be all right. So my first entry is gives you an idea of what the important things at the time. It's Wednesday, May the 13th, Torquay. After breakfast, Terry went off to film at a rubbish dump, a piece of Jean-Luc Godard's Cine Verite involving an exploding lettuce. It was another hot day, and Graham and I, in leisurely fashion, paid our bill, drove round to the Imperial. Here we spent what was rated one of the most luxurious and effortlessly pleasant mornings of my life. We lay in the sun beside a beautiful heated seawater pool and had gin and tonics brought to us. After a swim and drinks and sunshine, we went into the restaurant where we ate a most excellent meal accompanied by a half bottle of Merceau. After that we drank Grand Marnier and I smoked a cigar in the lounge. I hadn't given up cigars. I hope I never get used to that way of life. I hope I can always enjoy self-indulgence as much as I enjoyed it that first sunny, perfect morning at the Imperial. We drove out to the location and spent the rest of the afternoon playing football dressed as gynecologists. That's what you did. Just so my kids have a little mention here, Tom and Will, and my daughter Rachel hadn't been born. Tom must have been about 4, Will was about 2, and this is at my mother-in-law's. Stricken during the night with a strange malaise of the bowels. Spent from about 10 to 3 until 6 o'clock on the lavatory, reading much of Norman Collins' London Belongs to Me. Why? My mother-in-law had by the lavatory. Thomas is fascinating. Keeps coming up to see if I'm all right. Bringing me Lego. Finding some medicine for me, talking ever so sweetly and politely. Gradually the visits become more frequent. He brings Willie along with him. A plate of 4 thin pieces of toast, all I wanted for lunch, has only 2 left on it by the time Thomas brought it upstairs. Around 2 o'clock, both he and William ended up in my sick bed listening to stories, so I decided I was no longer ill and got up around 3 o'clock. Anyway, then the next thing that really happened, the first series of Python took place, the second and third. We kept breaking up. Part of the theme of this is how sort of insecure we were about the future of Python. And I keep recording in this. That's the end of it. We can't carry on like this. But we did keep carrying on. We staggered on. And in 1974, made the transition, which is unusual for any comedy group, certainly in England, to make a transition from television to movies. And we decided to write this movie, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It was made on a budget of about like $350,000 entirely. Some of the money was put up by Led Zeppelin, some by Pink Floyd. Mean bastards, then they put up a few quid. So here we are. We're in Scotland, April the 30th, Ballahooch. First day of filming, woken at 6:45, sunshine streaming through the curtains, into chain mail and Red Cross tabard. A difficult day ahead. the Bridge of Death scene where Eric and I die and Lancelot is arrested by the police. I always do scenes like you only die at the end of the movie first. You know, there's no chance to get into your character. That's really wrong. Difficult decision over Galahad's blonde wig. Instead of noble and youthful, I look like I should be serving in a supermarket. End of Galahad as a blonde. Such is the economy on this film that not only do the actors have a minibus rather than cars to go to the location, they also have to drive it. John, Lancelot and I, Galahad, driving up through Glencoe in a budget renter van in full chainmail. Scrambled up to the Gorge of Eternal Peril. This took about 15 minutes of hard climbing. Camera broke midway through first shot. The day is hastily rearranged, and from having been busy but organised, it's now busy and disorganised. The sun disappeared. John Horton, he was a special effects man. John Horton's smoke bombs and flames worked superbly. Graham, as King Arthur, got vertigo and couldn't go across the bridge. He spent the day rather unhappily cold and shaking. Eric and I and John sat around listening to stories from the mountain rescue boys about how many people perish on these mountains. 5 or 6 deaths, usually. Enjoy the sight of Hamish McInnes, head of mountain rescue in Glencoe, flinging rubber corpses of knights into the gorge. More terrifying ledges to climb round on tomorrow. I hope Gray's okay. Back at the hotel at 8:30 for large bells and a bath. Couldn't really face the 4-course hotel meal, so sat in the bar with Eric, drinking scotch and watching card tricks. The Sunday night was the most eventful, and I giggled a great deal over the menu after some very high-quality grass of Eric's. Graham ended up being seduced by an Aberdeen gentleman on a fishing holiday. Graham resisted apparently, but was well pissed in the English sense, drunk, and woke me about 1 o'clock, banging on my door, saying he was Ethel de Keyser. Footnote here. Ethel de Keyser, 1926 to 2004, South African anti-apartheid. Graham, this is the kind of thing Graham would do. On Monday night he woke me again, just after I dropped off, and I heard him in his room saying Betty Marsden rather loudly in a variety of silly ways. Betty Marsden, 1919 to 98, actress on Round the Horn and Carry On films. Why Graham chose her name I don't know. She'd once expressed a wish to die with a glass of gin in her hands. Maybe that was it. Tuesday night, however, he was very kind and content with putting a note under my door with best wishes, Betty Marsden. Anyway, this is the next day, Wednesday, May the 1st, Ballahoolish. At about 3:30 the call comes. Sir Robin and Sir Lancelot drive their budget renter van up to Glencoe, complete with a message from the producer to say that we must stop by 6 o'clock. At about 6 o'clock we're hanging onto the ledge above the gorge, waiting for a long shot at the Bridge of Death. Terry Jones directs Terry Gilliam to get some more dirt on his legs, as the soothsayer. Then suddenly John Horton's effects go off. A few flares, firecrackers, smoke bombs, then, surprising everybody, huge mortar blasts which send scorching barrels of fire high into the air. The grass and trees are burning. No one except John Horton knows where the next blast will come from. Jerry Harrison, assistant director, shouts. Terry Jones shouts. John stand-in races across the bridge with suicidal courage, only to be told to get back again as the camera can't see anything through the smoke. I think we may have a few more days of difficulty before the film gets together. Galahad drove the van back. Rather sad notices around Ballahoolish today asking for volunteers to join an army for tomorrow's scene. They're only getting £2, and I think even the Scots will balk at that. One theme that goes throughout the 70s, living in London, which is sort of pertinent now, we had an IRA bombing campaign, Irish Republican Army, throughout that period. And it's referred to on various occasions. I think there may be about 10 instances in the diaries. But here's one, which kind of gives you an idea of just how you deal with it, really. Monday, June the 17th, 1974. A damp, musty kind of morning, pools of water on the roofs and roads after the night's rain, which came down after a series of thunderstorms.